So today for the 50 Buick, we're going to be working on the kick panels. We're going to make some cardboard templates, and then we're going to go ahead and make it out of the same ABS plastic that the door panels are made out of. So here's the driver's side kick panel. What we're going to do is make a piece of plastic that fits into this shape here. So we're going to start with a piece of cardboard. What that's going to do is give us our basic shape, and then from there we can refine it. There's a small little slot here that the paper actually can slide into, and later the ABS will slide into it. This is where your windlace is actually attached to. I actually want to get this up and underneath that vent to hide any of the wires there. But I'm also going to put a piece of ABS across this bottom section, and that should continue to hide these areas. We never cut the hole for where the high beam flasher is on the floor here, so we're going to have to make sure to do that as well. That's the high beam actuator switch. That needs to poke through the carpet, and there's actually a little rubber boot that goes on it, so I have to get that put in place. But I'll have to cut a hole here in the carpet for that. I want this to go back as far as possible, so probably somewhere around there, safe to say. So this is the basic shape, and I think this will slide in there nicely. Probably stand to go back a little further here. See if I can make that up with the template. Now there's two screws over here and one up here, and that should secure this to the side of the wall. Now we're going to move over to the passenger side. So there's some AC fittings that come into the side of this bulkhead wall here. We're going to try to get this to go around it. Again, I'll seat this into the little slot that's here. I'm just going to notch this whole section around the AC plumbing. That'll fit really nice in there. I'm going to give it a little bit more depth right there. After we make it out of ABS, we're going to upholster it in the same vinyl that we use for the door panels. Although I'm thinking I may even want to use the same diamond quilted pattern that we used on the floors and on the sides of the seats. So I spray painted the edges so you can see it a little bit better, but this process is going to be just like the door panels. That's a big 4x8 sheet of ABS plastic. It's real thin, it's like 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to bring it up onto the table here, and then we're going to cut out some patterns. Here are the ABS panels all finished. We're going to test fit them in the car and see how they fit, and then get on with the upholstery. I'm actually going to go ahead now and cut this switch out. It is where the high beams are in the car. So I'm just going to put the carpet back up in place and make a little notch there with the X-Acto knife. And there we go, one berthed high beam switch. So now that that's through the carpet, let's test and see how the kick panels fit. Not too bad. Once these screws are put in place and held on, I think it'll actually look pretty good. Let's test the passenger side. So there's a little bit of touching up here where one of the hoses comes through, so I'm just going to notch this corner about a half-inch radius right here, and it should be fine. Perfect. Now there's 3 screws, one here, one there, and one up there. What I'm going to do is mark where those screws show up on this piece of plastic so I can actually go ahead and drill holes in there. So we'll actually use those screws to hold these kick panels in place. Now let's do the driver's side. There are the final panels. Now onto upholstery. So we're going to use this piece of scrap vinyl diamond tuck that we used for the seats. Now this is the front to the inside, so we're going to flip it over. That'll give us a little bit of overhang on the edges. We're going to mark this about 1 inch all the way around the edges. I'm going to move it back a little bit more because there's a little bit of unvinyled edge here. We're going to allow both sides to dry for 30 seconds. We want it to dry so it's not picking up any stickiness when you touch it. There's a couple heavier wet spots right now. It's a little bit cool out today, so that's going to slow down the drying time. Now we're going to spray the edges of the back side of the plastic. We'll let that dry. And there is the completed passenger side panel. We're going to get it mounted in the car and see how it looks, but first let's do the driver's side. There's the driver's side. So here's the driver's and passenger side kick panels. Since the screws that are going to be on each one of these kick panels are going to be visible, I grabbed a handful of finish washers. This way it looks like an intentional design decision. Let's get them put in the car. We'll start by removing the screws that are here. This bottom one is caked up with a little bit of Por 15. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out, so I might put another screw hole through this, which means it'll just change the spot that we drilled into the panel one. Now these screws are a little small, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get them through the washers and the material and the fabric and then back into the body of the car. I'm going to see if I have some longer screws. Here's a similar sized screw to the one that just came out of the car, except it's about 3/4 of an inch long. And it also has a pan head on it, which is nice because that actually fits into the finish washer really good. Now with any luck, these will line up right with where the body holes are. One in. I'm going to leave the last screw out for now. We'll put that in at a later time because I'm going to want to drill a hole and make sure I get it into a good spot. Let's move on to the passenger side. Same thing happened over here where we treated the floor with Por 15. Some of it got into that screw head and now I can't get that one out. It's okay, we're just going to go with 2 screws for right now on this side as well. After doing the driver's side, I figured out it was easier to get the screws started into the material before I put them up to the wall. There's the passenger side footwell installed. And here's the driver's side. So now the last thing I have to do is build an ABS rail that runs across the whole lower edge of this dash. I may pad that or do something with that as well, but what that's basically there for is to conceal any of these extra wires, the bottom side of the steering column, the AC system, anything that's hanging off the bottom. But that'll be for next time. Oh yeah, I got these cheapy floor mats too. They'll do for now. So we have a bunch of projects still to come on the 1950 Buick. We're going to be replacing the power steering rack because I found a leak in it the other day. We're going to be creating that ABS piece that's going to go underneath the entire dash rail. We're going to start working on the custom steering wheel. We're going to cast some aluminum badges to fit onto the side of the car. And then we still have to upholster the door panels. And we're going to be doing some custom trunk stuff as well, and finishing the whole interior of the trunk. We still have to do the headliner in the car, and we have to do the garnish molding that sits all around all the other windows around the upper parts of the window frames. I'd like to get the firewall and the inside of the hood all painted, and then we have a few other mechanical updates that need to happen to the car. However, we're going to take a break from the 1950 for a few weeks, and we're going to actually do some paint and body work on the 1960 Buick, and then we may do a little bit of work on the Datsun in between as well. We had some catastrophic failure with the motor, and we broke it. So we're going to do some engine rebuilding. I'm waiting for the motor to come back from the machine shop so I can get started on that process. Those videos are going to have their own playlist, so go ahead and make sure to subscribe, and then you'll be notified when those videos pop up as well. Thanks a lot.